ECSI fans, you want to revolutionize your sports investing habits? Allow me to tell you about WagerWire. WagerWire is an app that helps you become a superior bettor by allowing you to sync all your sports books and track all your bets in one place. See your current action, your betting history, and stats. You could also sign up for sports books and collect bonus offers. Follow them at WagerWire on X, as it's the best account on the platform. Head to App Store or Play Store now and search WagerWire and download the app.
Check this out. We got a great show coming your way.
From the ECSI Sports Studios, the #1 sports information program in America, the Breakfast Bankroll, with your host, the sports broker, Jeff Dawson.
Good morning, sports fans from all around the globe. I am the co-host, Jeff Dawson, East Coast Sports Investors, and it's that time of the week for our Tuesday morning edition of the Breakfast Bankroll with good friend and colleague, Mr. Scotty Webb, live from Tampa, as I am live from Cape Cod, Mass, at a balmy 28 degrees today, 10 degrees warmer than it was yesterday. Quick fact. Again, we try to get this show off 9:15, 9:30. I sent Scotty a text this morning. I'm a 2-dog family now. I have a Dachshund Fenway, Dachshund mix, and then we have a new dog, Camden Yards for short. So we have Camden and Fenway, a pug. Both rescues, by the way, from Texas. If you're looking to help the pet community, I strongly suggest going to the rescues. It's just an amazing feeling. But my point is, spring and summer versus winter coats, the dogs act a different way, ice, snow, sleet, whatever. And so it's a lot longer. The morning process is where I'm getting it. So apologies on my part. Also hoping to sneak Andrew McGinnis in at around 10:30 as well. But first and foremost, a shout out to our proud sponsors and partnerships. It's WagerWire. Head on over to Google Play. Download the app. It is free. Travis, Zach, Guy, myself, Amber Hawley, Matthew, Jacob. The list is endless. It really is. I have like 25 names I can blast off right now. Your best thing to do is on Twitter, X, jump on over to WagerWire, join the community, and then, of course, download the app there. Shooting episode 6, I think it is today, 2 shots for the Whipper. I'm blessed to be a part of that show. Doug Kazarian, Bill Krakenberg, Brad Evans, Rob Pizzola. It's just an amazing group, and I'm blessed to be a part of that as well. And, of course, Terry Smith, AtlantaSteaksAndSeafood.com. I spoke to Terry yesterday. Hope to bring him on early next week so we can talk some Georgia football, some Atlanta Braves, as they've done a couple moves as well. But head on over to AtlantaSteaksAndSeafood.com. Let Terry fill your tables with steaks, seafoods, chops, appetizers, wines, and more. I promise the best in the business. So without further ado, let's bring him in, Mr. Scotty Webb. What's up, champ?
Morning, sir. It's not that cold here, but it's cold. We'll be, I think we'll be almost, we'll be 75 anyway, but I mean, it's cold in the mornings, I know that people up north don't think it's cold down here, but when you get acclimated to stuff and then it gets cold and, it's like 50 degrees or 49 degrees, shit, you got to go start putting on sweatshirts and stuff.
The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over, but just expecting different results. And you know, there's people out there sticking their chests out. You know, how could you not play the Steelers last night? We had no action in the game. Me and Mr. Lucky did have Miami plus 3.5 for a 4-1 week, but there was two big stats trends, whatever you want to call them, like Tomlin, 14-1, I think, on Monday nights. As the Steelers 14-1 on Monday nights, their last 15 before last night, and then the record of the Dolphins, like, and 2 are, I don't know, 1-13 when the weather is less than 40 degrees. It was a team that had won 4 of the last 5, still in the playoffs, a team fighting for their lives, a chance to get to 500, still be relevant. That initial interception by Tua was ugly. Played grab ass, took a 3-0 lead. Of course, then what happens? You allow the Steelers to come down, take a 7-3 lead. Blankets 14-3 third quarter, 21-3. Thanks for playing. At what point, Scotty? And I'm not an owner, I'm not a GM. I'm just outside looking in, and I don't have the contracts in front of me. But McDaniel's, in my eyes, got to go. Number one. Number two, I think it's time for a reboot. It's time. The Tua experience, I think, is over. Again, I don't know what the guaranteed money is, but, you know, Tyreek Hill got injured. He's probably not coming back. You have A-Chain is your focal piece. You have Jalen Waddle when he's healthy. But I know you're in Tampa, but give me the thoughts on the temperature in Miami.
Well, you know, Miami for a long time, 70s and 80s, it was all Miami in Florida. It had nothing to do with Tampa. It had nothing to do with Jacksonville. It was all Miami. So, and they've got a pretty spendy, owner, like the guy, I forget what his name is, but he's down there, doing all kinds of crazy stuff. So anyway, I think that in terms of patience and and all that stuff, it's a different market. So coming from the Midwest or the Northeast, or even in the Alabama South, that kind of places, people are diehard into their teams and stuff. Miami's got a different culture. Doesn't mean that they're not wanting success from their team, but the patience isn't as thin, I guess is the right word, because there's so much more stuff to do, and there's so many different things and other stuff that keeps their interest. Look at the Marlins, for God's sakes. So as a lot of things happen and stuff goes on down there, I think the only difference being is that in Miami, Miami football, the Dolphins have always been kind of the premium here in the state of Florida, and they're not anymore. So at some point, I think they're going to want to get back to that. And how do they get back to that? It's a whole bunch of different things. And, I guess the way I would feel about it, or since the feeling down there, is they didn't expect them to do much anyway. I don't know that they expected them to make the playoffs anyhow. I think they felt pretty good about the little run they went on here. But they're in a bad spot. The bad spot meaning is Tua's contract came up, I think, just last year, and they paid him. They paid him like he's one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. So they're under a lot of obligation there, and trying to get out of that contract is a problem, because obviously he's been detrimental this year. But I think they made the comment even on the broadcast. Like 2 years ago, he led the league in passing, and he was an all-star kind of player. So I don't know that he can't be that still, but maybe there's just a big disconnect in different things. When your best player is HN, which is a good player, but then you look at the receivers, it's Waller as a tight end, and he was retired a year ago. So I'm not sure, what that they can do. I will say that their defense has played a little bit better here lately. And quite honestly, last night's performance was off to a pretty good start at the beginning. I mean, I thought, all right, well, they're gonna come out here and they played pretty well. And then obviously the turnovers and some other stuff happens, and then their offense goes into the tank. And I think the third quarter, this is just whatever the games are, how they play out. But the third quarter they had minus 20 yards, in the whole third quarter. Didn't get a first down, nothing. And then Pittsburgh's like, this game's over. Do whatever you want to do. We're just going to keep you in front of you, and you score all you want. But I think that's how the game played out. I was sort of surprised that Pittsburgh's defense that had allowed a lot of rushing yards didn't allow a lot of rushing yards. So I thought that they played pretty well on defense, and I thought for what Aaron Rodgers is these days, he was a great manager of the game. I mean, I think he had 4 incomplete passes or something. So I think that's what they're going to end up doing. But I don't think that, in terms of Pittsburgh, I don't think that really helps them when they got to go play Detroit next week. You can't be a game manager and beat Detroit. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think that's a possibility. And playing out the rest of the season like we did, and I just did the exercises before we came on. I see a world where Pittsburgh doesn't make the playoffs, even though they're ahead right now. So if they lose they say next week. Say next week. Where's my thing at? Next week they play Detroit, right? So let's just say next week they play Detroit, and we'll say they lose because I think they will. The following week they play Pittsburgh. They play the Cleveland Browns in Cleveland. Well, that'll be a tough game, but I think they win. And then it comes down to the very last game where they play Baltimore, and Baltimore will beat them in that game because I think it's a home game for Baltimore.
It's at Pittsburgh.
Oh, it's at Pittsburgh? Oh, well, there you go. So whoever wins that game is in, and whoever loses that game is out. It's kind of how it's going to go because Baltimore, they play.
They got the Patriots this Sunday.
Right, well, that's a pretty tough game, right? And I think the way the New England lost last week gives them all right, we're going to go play this game. Like they're going to try to win. Now, that being said, this is a game that Baltimore has to have. So Baltimore has to have this game. So I think Baltimore win. We talked about it earlier. I think we both think Baltimore wins that game. And then Baltimore plays at Green Bay
on Saturday.
Green Bay's all banged up. Their best pass rusher's hurt. I don't know what the deal was with Christian Watkins yet, but he's out. So if they don't have those guys, they can win that game. Now, will they win that game? I don't know. But if they win that game, I got them losing that game. But so say they lose that game. And then they go play and they win against Pittsburgh. They're in and Pittsburgh is out. That's an interesting way to end the season. So it comes down to a lot of good things in that division that way. So interesting stuff. And I don't know about the Chicago Bears yet. Like the Bears still have a tough road to hoe. They obviously they didn't have a problem beating the Browns this week, but now they got to play some of these other tougher teams as they come down the stretch. There's still a chance that they don't get in. So I don't know. The NFL, is going to be a soap opera all the way down to the wire. So it is what it is. But one comment I want to make, just because I'm trying something a little different in terms of how I talk to people, made the comment about trends and stats and stuff with how what's his name? Tomlin was 14-1 or whatever on Monday nights, and the how Miami does it in the cold weather, right? You can combine those things and go, yeah, everybody's on Pittsburgh. Well, here's what I'm going to tell everybody: if you're a stats player like that, and I shouldn't say stats, trends player, you're a guy that goes out there in the ATS world. You're going to be a 500 or below better. That's what you're going to be. Because there's no substance. There's no now there is substance to this. There is substance to the idea that Miami plays down here in 80-degree weather and they can't play in cold weather very well. I mean, there's a little bit of logic behind that. But if you're going to just blindly bet those trends and stuff, you're not going to be a winning bettor. You're just not. So the approach that I have taken, and it's not always the best approach, but I have learned, especially this year, that you have developmental things that really help you. Like I've been trying to write programs for years about how to do different things. I don't have to do that anymore. I just have to provide data to the right sequence, ask the right questions, and you get the right answer. So I was looking at it earlier, Jeff, in college football, and most of the stuff I gave out here for whatever, right? Just people tuning in. 58-37. That's 61.1% win rate. And then in the NFL, it's 30-19. That's 61.2. And I know I don't give out a lot of that because I don't do a lot of that until Friday night or Saturday. For a total of 88-56, it's 61% wins. You can make money doing that. And you can have a good time with that, right? So the point that I'm trying to make is there are a lot of ways to skin the cat. And if you're trying to skin the cat by just going and being a trend guy, you're never going to get there. And the reason you're never going to get there is because the trends aren't logical. They're just a sequence of things that happen in time over a certain number of games in that time. And then you can do all kinds of different things with them. I mean, just go look at covers.com and pull up the trends on the games and the matchups. They got there's probably 50 in there, and you can go, well, this is good, that's bad, and this is good, that's bad, and whatever. You can just do whatever you want to, but that's not handicapping. That's not matching up the team strengths. That's not looking at the things that are important in today's football. In today's football, it's about efficiencies. It's about moving the chains and getting first downs. And it's about scoring in the red zone, things like that, and pressuring the quarterback. And what does it look like when the quarterback's under pressure? So you have to have a way to, I don't want to say manipulate, it's the wrong word. You have to have a way to manage the data. But then you also have to use the right data, because if you're not using efficiencies on data, then you're using old school stuff. Old school stuff is yards per play. Old school stuff is touchdowns and yards per attempt and stuff like that. Nobody cares in terms of that producing scores. Efficiency produces scores, and lack of efficiency produces scores. What a defense can do to make a offense less efficient, right? So what I'm trying to say is evolve your handicap, evolve your skill sets to a point where you're not sitting there going, well, Mike Tomlin's 14-1 on Monday night, so I got to bet that game, because that's not a useful handicap. So how many years has Mike Tomlin done this? He's like 15 years now as the head coach of the Pittsburgh Steelers. I think he's the
20 years almost.
Like the longest tenured guy right now. And if he's 14-1, I guarantee you he's had more than that on Monday night. He's had more than 15 games. So I think as it works out, that's just the sequence of events that give him the 14-1 number, right? He's never had a losing season. You got to do this, that, and the other. Well, he might. You never know. Things are the way they go. So I'm just making that general statement that, look, there's a lot of things that happen in our lanes, and I get tired, and I'm mean about it, but I get tired of hearing about you got to do it this way, you got to do it that way, and it's all about trends, and it's all about yards per attempt, and it's all about this other stuff, because it's not. It isn't. And there's a lot of guys in our lanes, Jeff, and you know this, old school guys that'll sit there and go, I bet numbers, I don't bet teams. Okay, well, good for you. You're 500 better. That's what you are if you do that. Because You have to bet the matchups. That's what you have to do. Um, I'm at 61%, and I bet these games, especially the college games. I bet these games on Tuesday and Wednesday, and the games don't go till Saturday, and the lines move against me all the time. I don't care. The market is what the market does, and you're good at reading what the market's going to do. I wish I would have been a little better at that yesterday. Like PB gets a 43 and a half, and I got 42 and a half because I bet it earlier. I lose, he wins. It's just the way it goes. It's what happens. That's in my numbers. It's in my results. It's there. So anyway, point being is all I'm trying to say is there's a lot of ways to do this, guys, and efficiency models, efficiency of the game is extremely important to handicap the teams because it's all about the matchups. By the way, I did make another bet today on a college football game. So anyway, we might get to that.
A lot to spin off of that. Again, with today's social media, with all the trash that's out there, all the huge platforms, big check marks, especially in football. Football's the one sport I've said since day one. There's three factors in football. A, everyone has a favorite team. B, everyone knows everything. And C, no one knows shit. Dave, Sarapan, rest in peace, brother. And my point about that is it's the one sport that each week is a different matchup. It's one sport where the lines, other than week one, where the lines come out 3 months in advance. And now with today's society, yeah, there's games of the year and there's actual sports books that will put out the look-ahead lines for the whole season, which you can't. You might be able to run in and dive in and put a couple $100, but you can't drop, big money on that. And some of them's more for show than actual can go in on in September and be betting November and December games. But my point is AI, Grok, Chat GPT, whatever it is, there is a lot more people now starting to lean on that. The people that created their own data now create their own data, spit it to these guys, and then formulate new systems. And someone like yourself, for instance, that 61% probably. I mean, the model's very simple. If you hit 52%, you're 51.9 minus 110, you're breaking even. 52 to 54%, you're doing well and making money. Anything over 54% in that 54, 56, you're considered sharp. And if investing correctly, you're making bank. You're making bankroll. And again, to be in that 61%, I do nothing but applaud you. And it's only going to get better as we progress there. I want to go, you said a couple things there. Let me see. Football, there is a game tonight, Troy and Jacksonville. You did say you already bet a game. Games on paper is up. What I'd like to do, if you want, you can either go to the game you bet, or we can break down one game today. We're going to have tomorrow off, and then obviously Thursday and Friday we're going to be breaking down a lot more games.
All right, so there's information that I passed this along before. I gave everybody the Stuckey page on Twitter, where you can go and you can look at who's opted out and stuff like that for these games. And in tonight's game, that looks like this. So you go in and you look and you have Troy has opt-outs on their cornerback. He's not going to play. Whatever, no big deal, right? But then they have the starting running back is in a transfer portal. Starting offensive guard is in the transfer portal. Starting defensive end is in the transfer portal. Plus, the left tackle, the right tackle, and another offensive lineman is hurt. So this is a decimated Troy offensive line. They've got nobody there. And if you look at the games on paper piece, when you pull this game up, and you look at it, Troy on offense They rank 101st passing and 125th on rushing. They're not a good offense. They're a terrible offense. What they are is a great defense. But so now they have no way on offense really to stop the other team and to score a bunch of points. So I think that puts them at a disadvantage. And remember, Troy's the favorite tonight. So as this kind of starts to shape up, Troy gets their quarterback back, but he's his QBR for the quarterback that's coming back is 115. 115 out of 130 schools. So that's not like the greatest advantage in the world to have this guy back. Where Troy's been good is on defense. But if you look at Troy's defense, if you slide that down just a tick, Jeff, and you look, you say defense, Troy, number 16. Number 16, that's against the pass. And if you look at what Jacksonville State does, they are 113 in the pass. They're not going to pass. They're going to run the football. They are 14th in running the football. Troy is 71st, minus 2 defensive linemen tonight. So I think that really opens up the avenues for Jacksonville State here, where you got a bad offensive line, a quarterback that's not very good. I think you've got going to end up with an overrated defense against an offense in Jacksonville State that loves to run the football. And look at all that green. They've got 14th in rushing. Available yards is 41st. Starting field position is good. Early first downs is good. Average third down distance is good. I mean, it's a lot of green going on there, and it's going to be more of a depleted defense for Troy. Plus, their offense is going to be even worse than it normally is. And the other thing is that, and let me pull up my breakdown of the game for 1 second here. There was a big thing that stood out to me was havoc plays. If I can find it, I will tell you. The havoc plays for Jacksonville State are much better, meaning that they're going to create possibilities for turnovers for Troy that are probably bigger than what they were going into this game. So I like the idea that Jacksonville State's going to win this game outright. I bet the game on the money line. I didn't take the 1.5, or if the game opened at 2.5 or 3, it's down to 1 or 1.5. I still think it's good. I bet it on the money line at plus money. So I took Jacksonville State in this game because I think Troy is being overvalued in the game and Jacksonville State's being undervalued in this game. So that's this game that I bet. And I did bet Thursday night's game too. It's Missouri State and Arkansas State. I bet Missouri State. Now, I will tell you that these games are small conference games. So if I normally bet, and I'm not telling what I bet, but say I bet $200 on a game, I'm betting half that on these games. And the reason I'm only betting half of it is because these are small conference games. Anything can happen. But I did bet Missouri State, and I took the 1.5 or whatever it was. I didn't bet them on the money line. I took the 1.5. That's one of those games where there's not a lot of opt-outs. There's not a lot of issues. So it should be not that big a deal. I would tell people that if you're looking at the Old Dominion game and the South Florida game, I think I might have mentioned this yesterday, be very careful because both quarterbacks are not playing. South Florida's coach isn't there. There's a lot of turmoil and a lot of things going on in that game as to who's going to play. So I would just be very careful. South Florida's got all the big name behind them. And a lot of people want to bet that game for that side. I'm not saying they won't cover. I'm just saying, they're going to have backup quarterbacks for both teams. And, I don't know what's going to happen in that game. And I don't think they do either. So interesting spot. Now we can break down the Friday, Saturday games, which are the playoff games if you want to later. I did bet both of them. I can tell you what sides I bet, and then we can break them down later. I bet Alabama on the money line, not the -1.5, -1. I bet them on the money line to win the game, and I took Miami +3.5. Those are the two bets I made in the college football playoffs. So I bet those two games, and I bet Missouri State on Thursday night, and then I added today Jacksonville State because I think Troy's in a bad spot on their offensive line.
I'm going to save those for Thursday to make sure everyone comes back on Thursday. Since we started a little late, my headphones are being wonky, my wireless. I did want to close. I have to ask you this question. I'm going to circle back to baseball for a second. Again, this morning, the infatuation from the locals. Wilson Contreras, catcher. The Sox are not pounding down the door. They're knocking down the door. And again, Kettle Marte. Now, everyone out there in the landscape, Scotty, seems to be now. Bregman didn't sign till February last year. There's no market for him. There's no one running to the window to pay him $40 million per year. I do know what the Sox say. Hey, if you want us to match your 172 number, subtract 40 that we paid you last year and the 100 games that you missed, and then we'll subtract that and we'll bring you back for the 3-4 years at 132 or whatever that number is. My question to you is, offensively, the big hole for the Red Sox are catching last year. I know the addition of a Contreras. They're even knocking back on the doors to the Kyle Teal kid back in the White Sox, who was their number one catching prospect, who now they might want to circle back and try to poach again. If I remember correctly, Navarro throwing people out, it was just amazing. He had like a 20 in a row stretch or something. But my point is, the Red Sox offensively, we have holes. I don't know. What about the kids? Who's playing, who's not playing? Yada, yada, yada. Back in the day, you won games with strength up the middle. Catcher, shortstop, second, center field. Well, they have a center fielder. They have a Trevor Story at short. Meyer is often injured. Tristan Campbell, who was their second baseman last year, currently I heard they want to play him in the outfield, which is another logjam if they do that and don't move Duran. What's the infatuation? Is Contreras a good move?
I don't think Contreras is the right move for the Red Sox. And the reason I say that is look, the catcher that you have, what's his name? Navarro, is that right? Navarro?
Yeah.
Navarro. Carlos Navarez. He grades out WAR-wise pretty decent. I mean, as at least a good player, not a bad player. And if I were to look at it that way, hold on. You've got let's go this way. Let's go this way. If you look at it from that perspective, well, he doesn't. Their batting is not very good, but on defense he's pretty good. And your backup catcher is not a good batter. It was a Wong, right?
Yeah.
He's a guy that's those guys have occasional different things, but the benefit of getting Contreras from you're talking about the Cardinals catcher, right?
Yes.
You get him in, and the Cardinals catcher, okay, according to Fangraphs, and let me pull him up just so I can get it. His number, Cardinals. They probably have him at first base. That's probably why. Let's see, Cardinals first base. Yeah, so they have him as a first baseman now. Like he's a defensive liability as a catcher. I mean, he's not a very good catcher. So that's why the Cardinals moved him to first base. But his offensive WAR numbers are pretty good. I mean, that's a big benefit to as opposed to the catching position. But I would say you're going to give up a lot to get him. And I would also say, he's had a few dinged up, nicked up type injuries. Like here, he's marking his shoulder. He's been out for a little while. He's going to come back. I mean, he's not, bad. But my thought process with the Red Sox is not catcher. If you look at where like some of this stuff is for the Red Sox. Let me pull this up a different way. Where are the depth charts? There we go. So if we look at it, Red Sox. Red Sox, 21 batting, 20 pitching. I think the Red Sox biggest issues, like I still think you got a first base problem. I know Tristan Cassis is over there, but my affinity with Tristan Cassis. I think he's an asshole, and B, I don't think he's a good player. And then I don't know what you're going to do at third base. I know you got Marcelo Meyer, but he's coming back from an injury, and I'm not sure exactly he was what everybody thought he was going to be. He might be good. I don't think he's going to be Bregman good, but he might be decent. But I think he's going to be more valuable in the field than he is as a hitter. And you got no DH. There's no DH hitter there.
Oh! Don't tell that to Alex Cora. We got Yoshida. Don't say that to Alex Cora.
Well, he's a 0.7 offensive WAR player.
I know. No one will take him off our hands, Scotty.
You've got listed in here. You've got one guy that's double digits in offensive bat, which is a good category to have. You want several of those guys. You got one, and that one player is 16.4. Roman Anthony. That's the guy you got. And then the next closest guy to that is Wilyer Abreu at 8.6, and Tristan Cassis is showing 9.4. So you got those guys are close, but you need double digit hitters. So, but there's a lot of those positions, and I don't think catcher is necessarily the number one need that you guys have. I like more of the idea of some of these other players. You brought up Ketel Marte. I think Ketel Marte solves your Alex Bregman problem, and or you sign him and bring Bregman back at a cheap deal. Whatever works. And, if you think about this, if you had Bregman, Marte in the lineup, I think that's probably pretty good. You have both of those guys. Now, I don't know if you can get both of them, but that'd be pretty good. And you got pretty good pitching depth. So I think you've got a little bit to offer there for the Red Sox. So I think it's interesting how teams build their lineups and look at different things. I was looking at some of this stuff earlier with like I thought the Braves did a good job. They needed a shortstop. Well, they haven't got one. I mean, they got Ha-Seong Kim. Now, Ha-Seong Kim's not going to be the barn burner. He's not going to be Bobby Witt out there, right? But he's going to be way better than Arcia was. He's going to be a great fielder, and he's going to be a decent hitter. And that's all they need. They need a great fielder and a good hitter, and that's what they got. So I like the move the Braves did. I was very surprised, and I didn't really see this listed anywhere, that the Phillies signed Adolis Garcia. So that's an interesting move, because if they can get him, in line with, quote, the Phillies way, or he can hit in a bandbox in Philadelphia, that's a great positional move for them, because they need outfielders. So I liked that move, as long as, he doesn't go out there and strike out all the time. So if you really want a catcher, go get JT Realmuto. He's there. You can go get him. He's a free agent. Just go sign the guy, pay him and have him come in. I think Wilson Contreras is overrated, to be honest. I think I like his brother better, the guy that plays in Milwaukee. So I just think that's my opinion of the two guys, but and the brother's younger. I think Wilson Contreras, the guy that plays for the Cardinals, I think that he's a flash in the pan kind of guy, meaning that when the game's on the line, he's going to go strike out. When okay, you got the game, it's 7-0, you don't need him. He hits a home run, that kind of guy. And I don't mean that negatively. I mean, stuff happens that way for these guys sometimes. A little goofy that way. I thought A-Rod was always that way, except for 1 year when he was with the Yankees. He kind of carried him that 1 year. But I think that my opinion with the Red Sox is I wouldn't be chasing Wilson Contreras. That's just my opinion. I think I would rather have some middle infield. I still think they can do stuff with their outfield. I'm not big on all those guys they have, but all those guys they have fill roles and fit pieces and do different things. And, they don't have the major superstars right now. But, when you think about it, those guys all kind of click, kind of like the Brewers, right? The Brewers don't have all these major superstars, but all those guys are 2-3 WAR guys. They're all 2-3-4 guys. And, that's kind of where the Red Sox are. They're all 2-3-4 WAR guys. Whereas, like the Yankees, they have Aaron Judge, and he's like an almost 7 WAR guy. So, and then everybody else is like way behind. So it's kind of like when Aaron Judge goes, we all go. When Aaron Judge doesn't go, we don't. Whereas the Red Sox don't really have that problem because they have, more depth in the lineup. And now they have, we'll see what their pitching does and kind of looks like and where they go. I'm interested to see where Framber ends up, because one of these big guys is going to go to the Orioles, and when the Orioles sign the big guy at the top of the rotation, that's going to put them right in the hunt with everybody else. Because looking at data and statistics, their offense is as good as anybody. It really is. Their offense grades out for the if I do bat, the offense. The Yankees rate out the highest, the Mets, the Dodgers, the Orioles, and they're all right there. 29.9, and then the Orioles are 29.1. But the difference being is the pitching for the Orioles is 12.8, and all the other teams are 15 or better. But you sign a 3 WAR guy to go pitch, then that puts them right there with all the other teams as being the best in the league. So I'm interested to see what that looks like for them, because I think they will. I think they're going to get one of them. I don't know if it's Ranger Suarez or if it'll be, or if they make a trade or whatever, but they're going to get a big pitcher and see what it looks like for them.
The name that they will sign is Michael King. They're going to go get Michael King. So.
Well, they can get Michael King. I don't think my opinion, Michael King's a number 2. My opinion. I think Michael King doesn't match up to the aces of everybody else. I think he's a good number 2. And, maybe, it's kind of like I said this to you last year or maybe the year before about Tristan Cassis, for example. We had those conversations where I said a lot of times I think teams get enamored by the players they have, and in a lot of ways overrate them compared to what the market thinks they are. And I think Michael King is one of those guys. I think Michael King is overrated to what the market is, meaning that he's a good pitcher, but he's not like a number 1. And then I think that the Orioles think that Bradish is a number 1. I think they think he's a number 1. And again, I think he's a number 2. Bradish is good, man. When he's on, he's good. And then you got Trevor Rogers. Is Trevor Rogers a number 2 when he's really good, or is he a number 3? You know what I mean? Like, so they need a number 1, and Framber's a number 1. Ranger Suarez is not a number 1. So if they get Michael King, that's good for them too. Like, that gives them a lot of depth. That means that a lot of times they're going to match up fairly well, except for when the aces pitches for the other team.
Brain fire. Andrew McGinnis in 4 minutes. Me and Scott will be back at Thursday and Friday. We're going to break down some games. We'll get some in-pocket plays for Scotty as he's already placed some wagers. More to come. We'll break down the big boys on Thursday and Friday. Again, Andrew McGinnis will be here in 4 minutes. Everyone, there is a game today, as Scotty says, lean Jacksonville State. But again, as he said, if you're $100 better, he's putting half a units on these. So again, it's the start of the bowl season. 'Tis the season. Please stay in your lanes. Shout out to Daniel Berry, PB, Mr. Lucky, Dr. Lance, everyone watching and listening. We can't do this without you guys. Behave yourself. Stay tuned and see you in 3 minutes.